Hey, grab your favorite cup and pull up a chair. I'm Jess, and welcome to the Empress. If life feels a little loud right now, take a breath. You're in the right place. You know how sometimes you need a tarot reader and sometimes you need a therapist? Well, here you get both. I'm mixing the behavioral science from my clinical background with the intuition of the tarot to help you simplify the chaos. Let's make some magic. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to the pod. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you. Let's get into the reading for the month of March. I know that this is coming out a little bit late. If you're curious about why that is, then keep listening. I'm going to do our tarot reading first. And for those of you that want to know, me, personal stuff in the background, I'll share some stuff with you. Okay. So I'll tell you what's going on. But I know a lot of you are here for the tarot, for the vibes. So let's get into the Magician's Table, the new format. I hope y'all are liking it. I really like the structure. Remember, we are not predicting the month ahead. We are building it together. We are using this energy. We are working with it. So, what's the blueprint, guys? What's the vision? What are we trying to construct the month of March? Right? That's the question. All right. So we have the Three of Wands, a sense of adventure. The Three of Wands is opportunity. I think about this energy as the fire horse energy, which in Chinese New Year, which happened very recently, it is the year of the horse. And I think about this energy of like really ready to go. With wands, we have a fire energy. So this can, show up as an agitation, as anticipation, as excitement, as a lot of like mental buzzing as well. Just a lot of like ideas generating in the mind. This could be taking action on small parts of your larger plan, which I really like. But there's this sense of like wanting adventure, wanting something greater. So I feel like we're constructing a bigger vision for ourselves in the month of March. We're asking ourselves, okay, maybe I have been playing it small in some ways, or I'm reshaping the foundation that I've been sitting with and I'm not loving what's going on. I think I need something else. I need something that feels more in alignment with my soul. It feeds me, it keeps me excited. And wands also represent creativity. So I feel like we're going to be bringing more creativity into our lives in the month of March. And creativity can look very different for everyone. If this looks like creating a really cool like calendar for yourself, I love that. A journal. If this looks like a painting, if this looks like doing some collage, really whatever speaks to your spirit in the realm of creation. And this I also feel like could be a spring cleaning energy, just kind of like that restlessness where you want to shake things up. What I think is interesting about the Three of Wands is the person's back is to us. So we're not getting an idea of like what they're expressing on their face. So you can imagine kind of anything. But I want you to reflect on, how do you want to look towards the landscape of your life? Because that's what this person is doing, right? They're viewing this landscape. How do you want to look at what you've got going on? Do you want to look at it and just kind of like let your eyes glaze over it and be like, yeah, whatever? Or do you want to look at it and say, like, oh, okay, yeah, like I see this area over here, this area over here. I want to plant this over here. I want to uproot this over here. I want to redo this over here. You know, like you have a lot of creative power. And so I feel like I feel like we're constructing a a deeper connection with our creative power in the month of March. So I like this. I like this a lot for us. That's the vision. The vision is like, what do we want? How do we want to make it happen? And how do we want to make it happen in a way that's fun, that's aligned, that speaks to our soul? Let's talk about the tool. Okay, so the resource. What's the specific skill or mindset that is required for us? Oh, okay. So this card flipped over, which is the Knight of Cups. There's a steadfastness to this, there's a devotional aspect to this. The Knight of Cups represents movement. Okay, so all knights represent movement in the tarot. They're like intuitive messages that we get that we sometimes try to fit in boxes. For example, maybe it's not spring, but you're feeling this desire to like spring clean. And then you're trying to make it make sense. Maybe you don't know why you're really gravitating towards light yellow or baby blue, and you want to like redo something in your home that color. And it doesn't quite, again, make sense. And I put that in quotes. Don't try to make everything make sense. Just live in a way that feels intuitive and that feels kind of fun and playful. The Knight of Cups is trusting its intuition. It's trusting the little pings that it gets, these things that aren't necessarily logical. Um, and I feel like what we need is the ability to listen to that, to allow ourselves to not always make sense. And for us to also really deeply value how something, feels versus how it looks. Because in this world where people really value the aesthetics, whether that's like social media or like clout for friends or people that don't even know, how does your life actually feel for you though? How does your follow through with what you want to do in your creative power, how does that actually feel for you? Does it make sense, or are you doing it in a performative way, right? In a way that is connected to external validation. This is something that does require a certain mindset. The mindset is like, I am doing this for me because I value more how this particular thing or these things feel in my life versus how they look to other people. Other people from the outside could be looking at you and being like, ooh, that's messy. Ooh, that doesn't make sense. Ooh, I don't know why she's doing that. But they're not living your life. They're not feeling your feelings. They're not getting the reward of the follow through that you're getting when you do the things that matter to you. People will have all types of judgments. Okay. Part of the other mindset here, I feel like we're being called to explore in March is the mindset of like, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Okay. I know that can be challenging because sometimes when we're not like focused enough, I'll say that, on our own garden, we will very easily get that little ping of boredom and then do something with that ping. Think like, oh, I wonder what so and so's up to. And maybe we'll text that person. Okay, we'll reach out when we know we shouldn't, or we'll like spy on the socials or whatever. And then we've like kind of wasted time. And it's not the most appropriate use of our energy. And if you're wrestling a little bit of that, that's okay. Totally fine. Sometimes that can come up in the Three of Wands. So the constructing again of this month, it's like putting your energy in a direction that makes sense for you. Okay. Not just like scrolling endlessly, hoping for inspiration. Inspire yourself with the world that is around you, not necessarily with what other people are doing or what they tell you should be doing specifically, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But with the Knight of Cups, we are maturing. That is a huge part of our skills and our mindset. It is a mental matureness and emotional matureness to just trust ourselves, to trust how we feel, to validate our feelings. Whether or not our feelings are rational or make sense, we don't always have to act on them, right? We know that. But if we're actually having a feeling in any given moment, instead of, again, trying to make it fit somewhere, trying to make sense of it, saying like, "Oh, that was an interesting moment of my life. I had that feeling, that sense. Okay, yeah, I'm going to validate that. That's actually what I was feeling in that moment." And the moment passes and then you move on. Sometimes in later reflection, you have a, fuller picture as to why you might have been feeling that way. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes the process is just learning to trust yourself and validate your emotions. That is a skill set in and of itself. All right. So let's talk about the spark. Let's talk about the action. What is the catalyst action to get everything moving? Okay. Hey there, coffee lovers. Are you tired of settling for boring coffee? I have a treat for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Heartwork Coffee Bar, your one-stop destination for exceptional coffee experiences. Whether you're a coffee connoisseur or just someone who appreciates a great cup of joe, Heartwork Coffee Bar is here to elevate your coffee game to new heights. At Heartwork Coffee Bar, they take pride in their craft because each batch is carefully roasted to perfection, ensuring that every sip is a symphony of flavor. From the rich and the robust to the light and fruity, they have a coffee blend for every palate. And here's the best part. For you amazing podcast listeners, Heartwork Coffee Bar is offering an exclusive 10% discount on your purchase. Just use the code EMPRESS10 at checkout and you'll save big on your order. Why settle for ordinary when you can indulge in the extraordinary coffee from Heartwork Coffee Bar? Remember to use code EMPRESS10 for that special 10% discount and treat yourself to the coffee experience that you deserve. Don't miss out on this fantastic offer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks to Heartwork Coffee Bar for making today's episode possible. Now go grab your favorite mug, brew a fresh cup, and enjoy the podcast with the perfect companion, Heartwork Coffee Bar. Cheers. All right, so we've got the Knight of Wands. I like it. I like it. With all the fire energy here in March, it is giving this it's giving a nice, fun, energized vibe, which, I'm here for it. The fire parts of me are like welcoming this type of movement, this creativity. I'm going to say this with the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands can be a little bit messy in its action, in its movement. But I'm going to tell you something. The wrong move is better than no move at all. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here for March. So the catalyst action to get your creativity flowing is to do something. The catalyst action to figure out what you actually like, what actually matters to you, throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Try different things on. Again, stop trying to make everything make sense. You can make it make sense as you go through the process. Think about it this way. There's like a wardrobe laid out for you and you love everything and you're like, "Oh my God, this is so much fun." And then you're like, "Oh, this should fit. This is my size. I love this fabric. This is perfect." You put it on and then you're like, "Ugh, oh no, this is not it." That's kind of the experience we can have in March. We can think we know what we want. We can try it on and then we can give ourselves permission to be like, "Oh no, this is not it. I'm going to try something else." So when we get the Knight of Wands, it can be a little bit rushed. That's okay. That's not a problem. The point is taking action, doing something, because really, like I said, doing something is better than doing nothing. The creative process is a lot of doing something. If you're not experiencing life, you don't know what you like in life. You're not doing anything. You're just sitting around. How can you understand anything about life in general if you're not like living it, So with this Knight of Wand energy, I want to encourage you to show up for yourself with that follow through. I recently had a conversation with a special guest, and that episode will be coming out soon. But we're talking about being an artist in that episode. And we go over a little bit about the creative process for people and what could you do if, you're a little bit intimidated by the creative process. And I don't want to give too much away because there's a lot of great stuff in that episode. But one of the pieces of feedback is to do something. right? Do something, because if you just sit in a space of overthinking or self doubt, you know, you're only going to feed more of that to yourself. You're only reinforcing that space. And yeah, sometimes you have to like bust through the resistance with wild, messy, spontaneous, imperfect action. But you learn what works and what doesn't work. You can refine that process. The nights in general are a certain level of maturity. Okay. They're not a page, which can be considered from the tarot's perspective a little bit of a younger energy, maturing, but certainly less mature than a knight. You've you've moved creatively before, just like you've moved intuitively before. I know that because the Knight of Cups is here and the Knight of Wands is here. So perhaps what might be also really helpful for you is to reflect on other times that you've been creative, where you've had to come up with something from scratch. And this could be anything. This could be your boss asked you to put a spreadsheet together and you were like, that's a lot of data. I'm not sure how to do it, but you did. You did it. It could also be, you know what, I really want to cook this thing. I don't have a formal recipe. I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to wing it. Whatever a creative process is for you, I want you to reflect on how you went through that. And I want you to also reflect on how were you when you were making mistakes? Were you compassionate with yourself? Were you holding yourself with respect? Or were you kind of beating yourself up and, putting yourself down? If it was the latter, if you were beating yourself up and putting yourself down, I want you to elevate your experience this month. I want you to be kind to yourself as you take messy action because it kind of makes the creative process more fun. You're going to feel frustrated. I feel frustrated when I do art. I'll squiggle something on a piece of paper and I'll be like, what is that? And I'll notice myself judging. I'll notice myself being critical. And then I talk to that part of myself. And then I'm like, this is for fun. If I'm talking to myself like this, then I'm not allowing myself to have fun. I want you to have fun. I want you to have a sense of adventure. I want you to feel connected to what you're doing in a soulful and like creative way. So that is the vibe for the month of March. Thank you so much for showing up and listening to this part of the episode. I really appreciate you. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify how this reading landed with you, how your month of March goes. Let me know how the month of February was for you. Um, if you want to hear about the personal stuff, I'm going to chat about it now. So, the reason this episode is as late as it is because, I've had some crazy health stuff going on. Excuse me as I take some sips of water. Yeah, just some really wild health stuff. I have been in contact with my doctor pretty frequently. I've gotten a couple referrals. So I've got clear direction. What I have going on is not it's not like a crazy thing in the sense that like it's never happened before for anyone on the planet. There's a lot of research backing like what I'm going through. And maybe I'll disclose more about that at a later point. But I I've just been wiped out. And there's nothing I can do to control it at this point. And that's the whole reason I'm like in constant contact with my doctor. I'm going to be taking the next steps that I'm going to be taking, which is to just gain more control over what's going on. Um, yeah, so I did anticipate recording sooner. I physically couldn't show up for myself. And then I ended up getting a bacteria infection that I had to go to urgent care for to get antibiotics, on top of just all the other stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. And I was pretty much sick and out of it the entire month of February. I mean, just like wiped out. What's so interesting about it is that it's been more of like a mental wipeout. And an emotional fatigue. Physically, though, I've been okay. I've been going on, aside from when I had the bacteria infection, which like that just put me on my ass and all I did was sleep. But aside from that portion of time, which was about 10 days, I've been going on really long walks. I actually just got a Hydra pack, which I'm really excited about because I'm out for over an hour. And whether or not it's the morning or not, if you're in San Diego, you know that it's drier weather. And once that sun comes out, like it's hot. So I really need to take care of myself in a better way. And so I'm really excited for the Hydra pack, so that I can just go on my long walks and stay hydrated. So I'm looking forward to taking things up a notch as well. My partner bought me a new pair of shoes, which they already feel cozy and comfy. I got a little walk in the other day in them. But yeah, so send me the good vibes. I'm not worried about anything. Like I said, I've got a lot of clear direction. I feel really grateful for that. Um, yeah, so now it is just about taking action on the direction that I am getting and staying on top of healthcare, and consistent in what I'm doing. So that is going to be my goals moving forward. And if you have been listening to this episode, or not episode, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that all of last year was about getting my health back on track. And it looks like that's also just kind of trickling into 2026. And I'm so okay with that because I'm here to get my health on track. I'm here to really love myself in like a big way. I want to be in this body for as long as I possibly can. And I want to be in this body well. And that means slowing down and taking care of myself and really just accepting the changes that are going on. So, yeah. Um, Honestly, February felt like a blur for me. Work was fine. There wasn't anything wild or crazy. Like I can't think about anything truly destabilizing that happened, which is great. That's good news. I would explain it as just like chugging along as usual, but just with a lot of that mental fatigue. Um, so yeah, I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for another month together. I'm so excited. I really hope that you love the new episodes that are coming out. And I will talk to you guys soon. Okay, have a great March. Bye.